On March 22nd, 1927, Governor W.J. Fields pardoned Condy Dabney, an innocent man who had spent nearly a year behind bars for the murder of a girl who wasn't even dead. This is Hold My Sweet Tea. Hello, all you beautiful people. I'm Holly.
And I'm Pearl. And there was once upon a time when I was selling cars that one of my managers called me P. Diddy.
Oh, no.
I hate that.
Well,
I did not participate in freak-offs, prostitution, human trafficking, any of that. No,
but you know,
not
if
me.
you did, you probably would have got a lesser sentence because that's apparently what he got.
Or at least acquitted of more serious charges
Right.
and found guilty because he's not really been sentenced.
Found guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution. I'm like, isn't that pretty much the same thing?
It's close. I mean, the transportation part.
Right.
Transportation equals trafficking.
Trafficking, right. Traffic, transportation, it's all hand in hand. But the judge did deny him bail, so he's still in jail. And his trial's not until, I think, October 22nd.
His sentencing?
Or his sentencing, yeah.
Yeah.
So he could still be in there until then.
He could. Unless something happens and they speed it up.
Possibly.
I mean, and then what?
Right.
Time served by.
Yeah, more than likely.
But I guess we'll see. The luxury of money.
Yeah. All the luxuries.
like, no, me as P. Diddy, I would have been like told that I was guilty on all charges and they'd fucking add a charge.
Right. We're going to add this charge to it.
Also, we think she's guilty of this.
Right.
Just based on other things.
Extortion of baby oil. all the good stuff.
Right. She's the reason baby oil prices have risen.
Right.
Because of her hoarding.
It's a Ponzi scheme. Now you're going to federal prison. Right. I heard it's nice there.
You know, but like we already discussed this.
Yep.
Vacation. I'm reading.
Right.
All day. By myself.
With your emotional support dog.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yes. So we're coming off of a serial killer roller coaster.
Well, not really coming off of it.
Well, yeah,
you
you still
right
have
back
part
on it
two
on Thursday again. Yep.
And I figured I'd put us a little break in there. It's still a murder type one, you know, but
kind of
not. But I guess we're gonna jump into it, huh?
Yeah. Where's that?
So today our story is going to take place. It's a small mining town of Coxton, Kentucky.
All right.
Going to Kentucky. I have driven through Kentucky. It's beautiful and green. And I also went in one of the caves. Yes. It takes place in the mid-1920s, and it centers on a quiet, unassuming man named Condy Dabney.
Interesting name.
It is. And every time I think of his name, I think of American Horror Story, the one where they were doing the freak show and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Dandy. But this guy is nothing like Dandy. But like every time I hear his name, I think of that.
That's
character. So Condy Dabney arrived in Coxton in January of 1925. He was a 31-year-old with a family back in Tennessee. He was seeking work in the coal mines so he could make money for his family. He quickly gained a reputation as a quiet and good-natured individual with no prior run-ins with the law. So he was a good guy. He was working. He was sending his paychecks back home to his wife, so she could pay the bills and take care of the kids. He stayed in his room to himself. So everybody just kind of, knew him as the quiet guy who worked hard.
That's not a bad thing to be known as. It's fine.
Right. So eventually he did quit the mines, and he invested a paycheck and bought a car and started a taxi business.
Oh.
Because he's seen that not a lot of people had cars, and they needed rides back and forth to the mines. They needed rides to the store or the train station. So, pretty smart back then.
Mm-hmm.
He saw an opportunity, and he was like,
Uber without the app.
Exactly. You need a taxi. I'm just going to ride around until you flag me down. There you go. But the town of Coxton was about to be gripped by an unsettling disappearance. And Dabney would soon find himself in the center of a baffling and ultimately tragic miscarriage of justice.
Yeah, wouldn't be the first or the last time.
So a 14-year-old girl named Mary Vickery disappeared from Coxton, Kentucky on August 17th, 1925. She was blonde-haired, she had a little blonde-haired bob. She was, like I said, 14 years old. She lived with her father, Charles, and her stepmother, Nellie Coxton, which is
Nellie.
weird because same name as the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa, Nellie.
Whoa, Nellie. She went out earlier in the day with 3 friends of hers to pick apples. And, she told her dad, she's like, we're going to go pick apples. We'll be back later this afternoon. He's like, yeah, sure. They were just being girls back in Kentucky with nothing else to do, I guess.
Apple picking.
So they were walking home along a dirt road later that afternoon on their way back when a boy they knew named William Middleton stopped and offered them a ride. So they gladly accepted. They jumped into his car. They were like, sure, a car? Absolutely.
What?
Let's get in.
Drive away. No,
right? Not like now you're like, I don't know if I'm going to get in that car. But Mary, she loved to talk. And she loved conversation. So she and William were in conversation when he dropped off her friends, and Mary and William continued on down the road. So they got dropped off at their house and kept going to Mary's. So William said he had dropped off Mary near her home. I guess maybe there was like a long driveway or road or something. And he drove off. Later that evening when Mary...
Lazy.
Yeah. Could have drove her to her front door.
Yeah. Shame on you, boy.
None of this would have happened.
Shame. Yeah.
Later that evening when Mary didn't come home, she was reported missing by her father, but he really didn't seem very alarmed.
So does she go missing often then?
I don't know.
I'm like, why are you not alarmed? You're like, oh shit, again?
But Mary's relationship with her father and stepmother were very strained due to the fact that Mary did not get along with Nellie at all.
Typical
teenager stepmom situation.
Especially girls.
Yeah. But her father did put up a $500 reward, which is a lot of money back then, for information about her whereabouts. Police questioned William Middleton, the guy who gave her a ride, and he told him he dropped her off near her home, and he saw her talking to a man in a car that was driving by, and then she got in.
So she gets out of one car and gets in another is what he's saying?
And cars don't go very fast back then. So,
Right.
I guess he was putting along and he could see her getting in another car. This man was Condy Dabney. So Dabney was brought in for questioning because people were like, I seen her in town in his taxi.
Okay, so that's what I was about to say.
Yes.
How does he know that's Condy Dabney?
Right. Okay. So despite questioning witness testimony by people who said they saw Mary in Dabney's taxi, no indictment was returned and Dabney was released. Because he's like,
I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
I don't know. I pick up people all day. I ride up and down the road. I pick up people and take them to places where they want to go.
Maybe she didn't. I have no clue.
So Dabney, perhaps sensing the unease, he left Coxton in September, returning to his family in Cold Creek, Tennessee, reportedly because one of his children were ill. Little did he know his troubles were far from over. On October 21st, U.S. Marshal Adrian Metcalf, searching for an illegal still, moonshine.
Moonshiners.
White lightning.
I like some moonshine. Not the, like, oh my God, they have that one that's like fire in your mouth. Tastes like gasoline.
No, thank you.
Gross.
Because it pretty much is.
Yeah, it basically is gas. I don't want to drink that one. So you can keep that thing.
You'll do the flavored ones.
But I do happen to like the butterscotch one.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
It's pretty yummy. And the coffee one.
Yeah, they got all kinds of flavors. They didn't have those flavors back then.
No.
They just had straight liquor.
They just suffered with the burn, gross tasting stuff.
They're like, I don't know why I'm drinking this, but there we go.
Gotta get drunk.
So he was looking in an abandoned mine shaft near Ivy Hill in Coxton, and he made a horrifying discovery. Stumbling in the dark, I'm like, did you have, he had a match. That's what it was. He was stumbling in the dark with a match. So he was like, and I'm like, you're looking for stills with a match.
Yeah.
That's a catalyst for
that's
boom,
gonna
boom.
be like, no kidding. Not to mention that thing's not gonna burn that long. Next thing you know, fingers,
like,
ow.
Ow. Boom.
Right.
Click,
Oops.
click, boom.
Like, dumb.
Right. So stumbling in the dark with a match, he unearthed the badly decomposed body of a young girl. There were some stones and an old black winter coat thrown over her. Her only other clothing consisted of pink bloomers, undies, a hat, shoes, and stockings.
Oh my goodness.
The community immediately believed it was Mary Vickery, even though the victim was brunette. Remember, I told you she was blonde.
Yeah.
Bob. So the coroner called Charles Vickery, her father, to see if he could determine whether the remains were of his daughter. Based only on the clothing and a ring found at the scene, Charles identified Mary. For someone who had learned his missing daughter had been discovered deceased, Charles's behavior seemed odd. He didn't even attend Mary's funeral.
'Cause it ain't Mary.
It's not Mary. The coroner could not determine how the girl died.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Back then, probably not.
Yeah.
So the discovery reignited the investigation. And weeks passed, suspicion began to overwhelmingly point toward Condy Dabney.
Dun, dun, dun.
Because he was the last one seen with her.
Yeah.
Much of this suspicion was fueled by the stories of one Mary Jackson.
Marie needs to mind her damn business.
Exactly. She would become the prosecution's star witness. And boy, was she. Marie was described in the newspapers as, quote unquote, having been with many men. Oh, Marie.
She was
you trollop.
popular.
Popular with the menfolk. And Marie had quickly set her sights on Dabney when he came to town. But true to his marriage, he rejected her advances.
Oh, so she is a woman scorned.
So for months, Mary Jackson brooded over Dabney's rebuff. But finally, she decided to get revenge on the straight arrow cabbie.
Of course she did.
Yeah. Because nobody
that's
denies
what
Marie.
Right. That's what I think about today's T app.
Uh-huh.
While it can be helpful if people are being honest.
Yes.
Most of it reads like, I'm pissed off because he left me for another girl.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you that he's got STDs. He cheats.
Yep.
He beats. He whatever.
Whatever.
Girls, be careful what you believe from that app.
Mhm.
But also, good luck. Because
Right.
finding the truth in there
Is hard.
is hard.
Yep.
It's no better than just taking a chance.
Exactly. And don't get mad at the other girl, because it's not really her fault. Even if she is pursuing him, it's his.
No, yeah, absolutely. You're not in a relationship with the girl.
Yep.
You're in a relationship with a guy. It is his responsibility to stay true to you, not hers.
Like Dabney.
Yes.
So at the sheriff's office, she informed investigators that she had witnessed Dabney murder Mary Vickery. Her allegations were so convincing that Kentucky authorities twice traveled to Tennessee to question Dabney, only to return seemingly persuaded by his claims of innocence. So they were very conflicted at first.
Mm-hmm.
Yet Dabney was returned to Coxton in March. Soon after, he was examined by the grand jury, and on March 18th, an indictment for the murder of Mary Vickery was returned. The trial hinged on several key pieces of evidence and, more crucially, conflicting testimonies. So Mary's father, Charles Vickery, was initially unwavering in his identification of the body. He described finding a ring, which he said he had bought for Mary's birthday, and a piece of stocking with a distinctive L-shaped darn, as well as hair he described as sandy and bobbed and very fine, matching his daughter's. However, under cross-examination, a crucial crack appeared in his certainty.
Oh, gosh.
When pressed about not attending the funeral and allowing the county to bury the body, Vickery hesitated. So Dabney's attorney, G.G. Rawlings, jumped on it and seized the moment. And he said, "You did not know that was your girl. This is what you started to say, wasn't it?" So Vickery's reply was damning at that time. He said, "At the present time, I wasn't perfectly sure." Then why did you say that was your daughter?
Yeah, why would you go, "Yep, that's her"?
Yeah. Adding to the confusion, conflicting testimony emerged regarding Vickery's initial identification at the undertaker's and even the color of the hair found in the mine, with witnesses describing it as a brownish black and coarse hair. That's not a blonde bob with fine hair.
It's not sandy.
No.
Either.
Even if it's been sitting there in decay and everything,
Yeah,
it might have changed, but
not like that.
Yeah, not like that. You're still going to see blonde hairs.
Yeah, your hair is pretty consistent.
Yeah.
With what it was when you die.
So this father identified this girl as his daughter, but he didn't even go to her funeral.
Because he didn't know if it really was his daughter.
And then he said, "Oh yeah, that ring, I got her for her birthday." Really? You just lied?
Yeah.
Just so you could say my daughter's dead? That's messed up.
Yep.
But the most impactful testimony came from one Miss Marie Jackson. Her story was sensational.
Girl could have wrote a book.
She claimed that on the morning Mary disappeared, she and Mary hailed Dabney's taxi. After taking them to a restaurant, Dabney allegedly drove off with Mary, returning hours later. What are you laughing at?
So Mary just hanging out with some random trollop.
Right.
What?
She came up with this whole story.
Why? Okay, grown-ass woman. Why are you hanging out with how old was she?
14-year-old. 14.
14-year-old. What is wrong with you?
She then claimed, so she said, we went to the restaurant and then Dabney drove off with Mary.
She's like, "Girl, I'm going to take you to lunch."
Right. So then he came back a few hours later. Then she claimed all three drove to Ivy Hill, where the mine was, where Dabney told her, "Leave us alone. Go somewhere else." From a distance, I know.
And I listened.
I was like, okay.
You're kind of implicating yourself here.
Right.
Because at this point, you're complicit in this crime.
Yes.
Friend.
So from a distance, she said she witnessed Dabney hug Mary, who protested and pushed him away. Then she said he struck her with a stick, attacked her, and finally he took her body into the mine while Marie fled in terror.
Struck her with a stick.
A stick. She said he later threatened to burn her at the stake if she ever spoke of it. Is she a witch now?
Right. Okay, then.
This dramatic account, despite its inconsistencies with other witness statements, deeply impressed the jury. Like, what?
Simple minds, I guess.
Yeah. They're like, whoa, this is a cool ass story.
Yeah, and in the land
it makes sense.
This is so intriguing.
Right. It all makes sense now.
Marie has to be telling the truth.
Right. She's a trollop, but I think she's
she's in everyone's business. She knows everyone. She knows everything.
She does.
She's got the 411 and we don't even know what that is.
Right? The tea. So the three other girls that were with her, the Stewart sisters, and a woman named Miss Smith, their testimonies were largely consistent. They placed Mary with William Middleton between 2 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then that contradicted Mary's timeline of being on Ivy Hill with Dabney and her from 1 o'clock until dark.
Yet we still convict this man.
The prosecution also brought in Claude Scott, a fellow inmate of Dabney, who claimed Dabney tried to persuade him to fabricate testimony, offering him $15.
So the prosecution offered him something.
Probably.
To lie.
Finally, Dabney took the stand, denying that he ever drove Mary Vickery in his taxi because he drove several people that day and he couldn't recall her description, or he said he wasn't even on Ivy Hill. He's like, I took several people's places. He said, I don't even recall like all of them. I guess he wasn't like an observant person.
Not to mention, right. I'm sitting here going, I feel like you'd remember if you drove a kid.
Yeah.
That would be a little more significant. And for me, that would mean I didn't.
Right.
Especially a kid by themselves.
Yeah. So he maintained his innocence and lack of knowledge regarding Mary Vickery's disappearance. But on March 31st, 1926, the jury returned a verdict of guilty, recommending life imprisonment.
Wow.
Yeah, this dude got life imprisonment. Dabney was sentenced to hard labor in state penitentiary. This poor dude.
For some dead girl, we don't even know who she is. Let alone who killed her or how she died.
So almost a year later, March 1927, a remarkable twist of fate intervened. Patrolman George S. Davis, quite by chance, had went to on a vacation, and he drove several towns over or whatever into Kentucky, noticed the name Mary Vickery on a hotel register in Williamsburg, Kentucky. The name rang a bell. Well, I guess so. It was a sensational event.
Right. That was a big deal up in Coxton.
Right. He inquired and was told Mary Vickery had indeed lived there and had gone to visit friends across the Cumberland River. Davis found her, recognized her instantly, and the story she told him was nothing short of astonishing. Mary Vickery was alive.
Apparently.
She told Davis she left Coxton on August 23rd, 1925, with $5 because she couldn't get along with her stepmother. She had taken a taxi, didn't know the driver, but her description did fit Dabney. So he really didn't.
He might have actually driven her.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was certain she did not know Marie Jackson.
I'm sure she didn't.
Right. So during that year, she had taken on many jobs. She had waitress, she was a maid, and finally she was working in a woolen mill in Cincinnati. She admitted hearing that someone had been convicted of her murder and was told by the patrolman that she should go home and make things right.
Right.
So I guess she had read it in the paper that somebody was convicted, but she wasn't going to do the right thing because she didn't want to be with her stepmother.
Mm-hmm. She liked being gone.
She decided to go home. Mary Vickery's return to Coxton led to Condy Dabney's immediate pardon. And it was said that the state offered him $5,000 as like a restitution type deal. But still, you just served a year hard labor for something that you didn't do.
Yeah, something that didn't happen at all.
Yeah. So G.J. Jarvis, that's hard to say.
Yeah, I was about to say, wow.
G.J. Jarvis was appointed as a special investigator to look into Marie Jackson's conduct. True to form, Marie offered more untrue stories about the Vickery case. She was like, I'm in this lie. I'm just going to keep going into it.
Yeah. What a web Marie is weaving.
Right. It was speculated that she testified to claim the $500 reward, or perhaps out of revenge because Dabney refused to leave his family for her. As a result of Jarvis's investigation, Marie Jackson was tried and convicted of false testimony. She was sentenced to 5 years in prison.
Good,
Marie. Rot in prison.
Serve that time.
Mary Vickery, however, when she got back, she married an old boyfriend, C.E. Dempsey, like shortly after she returned to Coxton. And I think it was because she didn't want to go back to her father's home.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
She's like, you know what? I'm just going to get married.
She was desperate. She was like, let's get married. Okay.
Love you, mean it.
So it's difficult to comprehend how a jury could reach a guilty verdict giving the conflicting testimony. This case caused much disbelief among legal scholars and local officials.
Yeah, it's caused a lot of disbelief in me, too.
Right. Like how could an innocent man be convicted on almost no evidence?
Yeah, well, pretty much no evidence.
Right.
And then, like, you have a young boy who has no reason to lie, who says she was with me from this time to this time.
And her friends that he dropped off.
Yeah.
And another lady seen her in his, like, Dabney's cab. And then you got this jilted wannabe lover being cold-hearted, like, because he rejected her, to send him to prison.
Yeah, nobody ever saying, if you want to be my lover, you got to lie to my friends.
Exactly. Sing, sing, ah.
Ching, ching.
Plus, you know, the guy who testified when they were in jail saying, oh, he tried to get me to blah, 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 blah.
Yes, that guy.
Jailhouse informants in America have an atrocious record of lying to get their sentences reduced.
Correct.
So how could the courts continue to use such liars in trials across the country?
Like, I mean, it still happens today, but a lot of times I think that there are instances where the person is actually telling the truth, but it's hard to know when it is.
Right, it really is.
Like, anything could be a freaking lie. You just don't know unless you're me.
The human lie detector.
And you lie to me.
Right.
I know.
Yep.
Keep trying to tell my children, these fake adults.
Stop lying to me.
Don't lie to me.
I'm going to know.
When I ask you a question, I know the answer.
Right.
Tell me the truth.
Exactly.
And they still don't. And then a month later, Rayanna will be like, Mom, I'm just really scared of you. So
I didn't tell you the whole truth.
Let me tell you this because I feel bad. So this is what happened actually. And I'm like, yeah, I already knew that.
Right.
You did? Yes.
Yeah. Just waiting for you to say it.
I was like, could you stop now?
Right.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, the truth may not set you free, but the length of time you're not free is way shorter.
Is way, way shorter. So Dabney, an otherwise unremarkable and law-abiding citizen, was believed less than Marie Jackson, a woman whose testimony was demonstrably false and inconsistent with other witnesses. And she was known as, you know, being with many men. She was believed over this guy who never got into trouble, ever.
Yeah.
The father's wavering identification of the decomposed body, I bet he felt like a fucking ass,
He should, but he probably didn't. Let's be real. He probably did not.
And the discrepancy...
He was like, oops.
Right. And the discrepancies in hair color, like, should have raised significant doubts.
He probably feels like the fact that he said he wasn't sure in court made it all better.
Yeah.
No, it didn't.
Did not. The tragic truth is that this was a case of perjury and too easy naivety where minds predisposed by circumstances to believe the worst. Piece together like every unfavorable, inconsistent conclusion, ensuring somebody paid for the presumed murder. So that was the whole thing. They needed the scapegoat, somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And Marie spun this big old story in their naive minds, and they're like, yeah, he did it. Absolutely did
Blame it on the rain.
Blame it on the rain, yes. He was the last person.
But the rain does care.
Right. So Condy Dabney's ordeal stands as a reminder of how easily justice can be derailed when assumptions outweigh evidence and truth. As for the body found in the mine, because I'm sure you all were wondering, it was never identified.
Oh, I'm sure. They just like, whatever.
It was buried, too.
It was buried, so, but they're probably just like, oh, well.
Yeah.
Your time has passed.
So that was a cool little Appalachian,
never identified.
Kentucky, Tennessee.
No justice for the actual dead girl. For shame.
But Marie got put in jail for 5 years. Condy got some money and went on his merry way, but he had to serve a year,
Yeah. Worst job ever.
In hard labor prison. Right. He's like, I'd rather go back to the mines.
Right.
It was much better.
I'd rather go kill myself with some good old coal.
Right.
Lung cancer.
Exactly. Black lung.
I swear.
Yeah. But that was cool, though. Like, it had a big old plot twist because old Mary just ran off.
Yeah.
She was like, nope, not dealing with this.
She just said,
stepmama.
You know what? I had way too much fun out apple picking and riding in cars with boys. I ain't going home.
Nope.
Yeah, you can drop me off right here. I'm going to walk the rest of the way.
I got $5. I'm going to start a new life. $5 whole. What did she do with the apples?
Probably took them with her. She's going to need to eat those, Holly. God.
She was like, I'm taking this basket of apples with me.
I left with a basket of apples and $5.
Yep.
At least she had food.
Yeah.
She didn't have to spend her $5 on that.
Apple a day.
Right. No doctor. I'm not starving yet.
It's got some fiber in it.
Some regular.
Arugula. Yeah, that's my little story for today. A little break in the serial killerness, but next week, or Thursday,
no, Thursday.
Not next week. Look, we're recording this a week
same
before.
Exact week.
Thursday, we're going to pick back up with the victims of Derek Todd Lee.
Yes, we will, because we're going to shine a little light on those ladies.
Deep
for sure.
dive.
Yeah, I feel like I skimmed the surface with the first part. So,
well, you got to tell about his background and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Speaking of digging deeper, our theme music.
Did we dig very deep for that?
No.
It was the cream that rose to the top.
Yes.
Our theme music is by Patty Salzetta.
And she is the cherry on the top.
And as always, I'm going to tell you again. Share an episode link.
Not like Sonny and Cher.
Share. Yeah. Share. Give the gift of podcast to your friends and family.
It's free.
Frenemies. Co-workers. Even the ones you don't like.
Yeah.
Like, Merry Christmas. Here's a link.
Right. I'm sending you a link. Happy birthday.
You're going to love this. Enjoy.
You're like, shoot, I forgot to get them something for their birthday. Here's a link to a really cool podcast called Hold My Sweet Tea.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
You're the best. So I gave you the best.
Right.
Anyway.
And we're up to, what episode is this? 44? 44? Yeah. Like, we are trucking on this episodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to let. It's binge worthy now.
Yes.
Like, you could spend your weekend binging our podcast.
Yeah, you could like lay on the beach.
Yes.
With your earphones in, getting your sunburn or tan if you're not like me. I'm the sunburn girl.
Right.
Even with
SPF 5000.
Right. The best sunscreen ever that I spent like $1 billion on because I'm trying not to die.
But you could definitely binge us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tell your boyfriend to shut up.
Yep. You don't want to listen to him anyway.
No. Like, we're on vacation. I hear enough of you.
Right. Shh. Scoot, scoot. I'm listening to Hold My Sweet Tea podcast.
Also follow us on social media. Yeah. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And you can go subscribe to our YouTube before we start recording our faces.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's when shit gets real scary.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's when the horrors persist. Horrors, not horrors.
No, not WHO. It's HO. Just the HO.
Right. Does anybody actually listen this far? I hope so.
I don't know, but it would benefit them too.
It really would. It's our comedy geniuses.
So, yeah. Anyway, you can also email us at steeped@holdmysweettea.com.
And as always, Hold My Sweet Tea is a Drunken Bee production.
Very drunken bee.
And as always, stay safe out there. Just because we're dipping doesn't mean you can't keep sipping. Bye. And don't give taxi rides to 14-year-old girls.